Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to what is Scrap Mechanic. Scrap Mechanic Creative Mode. Scrap Mechanic Creative Mode with internal combustion in a car, which is something that no one's managed to do yet in a functioning car. As far as I'm aware, I was the first, and I'm chuffed to bits with that. But I must say, to Reed Captain, absolutely quality job. You built an internal combustion engine how I always thought you had to. And I never did because of the lag. Like, it just wasn't possible. Car Gaming demonstrated these things. The spawners, the bomb spawners. The only mod I've ever really used, Wings mod. Never knew these things really existed. So I got that and got to work. And this is what I've come up with. We've got, well, this was my first engine that I built. It is the world's crummiest two-cylinder engine. It's got quite long cranky bits, crankshaft bits, to provide much torque, not as in waffling, as in Newton meters, or foot-pounds, for those of you in the 1950s. But it's great. It's got the spud guns to act as the spark plugs for the fuel, which is the canisters, and then the timing, which is the sensors, and this. Literally, it's just a timer set up. Wonderful. That works. So, with that said, how does it work? Well, you press this button and it explodes, and then you press this button and it explodes, and then you press this button and it explodes, and then, it's a bit of a pattern. And then it gets to the point where it doesn't quite do a full rotation, and then it does, and then you can press that switch, and it's away. And it's a two-cylinder engine, and it simply just works, which is lovely. This was the first thing that I did, and it just worked straight away. And I was very surprised by this, and it did. So I thought, this is wonderful. I've got a two-cylinder engine, which just worked. So then I welded two of them together to make a four-cylinder engine. And I thought, this is going to be something interesting, isn't it? So what we've got to do, 1, 2, set those off. And that's going to cause slight liability. So we need to flick those, and it should give it some motion. And it hasn't. This is disappointing. Quite disappointing, in fact. So we're going to flick it again. It's going to spin. Spin. There we go, and it's away. So it's a four-cylinder engine. It's just more difficult to start because it's bigger and heavier. But there it is. It's away, and it's much smoother. Now, what I want to point out with this four-cylinder engine, all of these cylinders are at 90 degrees. Right, and that's lovely. That's very good, because it means that there is less time between the explosions, and it means your engine is smoother. And that's great. Because I'm going to go to what Khan did. What Khan built was a boxer engine, which is fine. Build a boxer engine, absolutely great. 4 cylinders, same sort of thing here. But then welded them to the crankshaft as if it was a 2-cylinder engine. So essentially had a glorified 2-cylinder, which really confused me. So this is what I did, and it's the same as that, just 2 of them welded together, and it works. That's great. Then I strapped it into a car, put it on Reddit, everything was great. Except, no, I didn't strap this into a car. I had to double the spud guns because Scrap Mechanic is weird, and when you're moving, the spud guns don't work properly. I then had to change the timing from what is 50 to 500 because it's so heavy. It was going much slower than this. You can see it on Reddit, but essentially it was a bad car. But it did work. And then I built another one, which I named Holes, which you will be able to see on the workshop. Here's Holes. It's a refinement of the theory, right? Instead of welding the cylinders together, I built them all individually, so we have a 1-block wall instead of a 2-block wall. Lightness, that was a key. And then doubled up that, so it's a car. It's lighter, it's more efficient, and it's got, slightly shorter arms. That's all. It's just a slightly more efficient version of that engine. There's nothing else really to it. It's just, there it is, it's a car, it's about walking pace. and this is wonderful. I built the engines, but that's great, it works. Nothing really very special about that. So then I built this, which is what I've called gaps. gaps because it's smaller than holes. And what it does is go quickly. It is an extreme car, and it is very great. So if I go here, I'm going to get the little engine that I built, because this is the engine, and I'm gonna say this now. I think we've reached a theoretical limit, and it is a theoretical limit because if we turn that on, hit it with a hammer, you're going to notice something. Get your ears out. It sort of stops. What happens here is it's spinning so quickly that the canister spawners can't keep up with it. So then you get this lag period where it slows down, right? And that sucks. And I couldn't really think of a good thing to do with it. So out of a bit of annoyance and desperation, I threw it in the car, which does work, and that's wonderful, and I'll demonstrate in a minute. But I have just thought of a thing, though. We could glitch weld some canister spawners inside of each other and then use memory bits and fill in. I might do that, or one of you might do it. It's on the workshop, go for it. So that's great. Gaps is a wonderful engine, and we put it in a car. And this car is a quick car, relatively speaking. Right? It's a refinement of the theory, you know? All of the car engines have actually worked in cars, you know. This one, it was slow as hell, but it did work, and Reddit seemed to like it. This one, it was just improving that one, and then this one was essentially taking what we learnt from that one and that one combined, and making it even smaller, lowering the amount of torque we have, and in favour of more RPMs. That's what we went for, that's what we've got. And I think this is quite lovely. So you literally, with this, you have to tap the thrusters because it really does get quite quick. Otherwise, the explosive canister flies out of the cylinder in the rear and blows up the cogs in the back. But there it is. It works, and this is, relatively speaking, quite quick. It's ever so slightly slower than walking pace. And for an explosive canister car, I think that's impressive. It really has. It's done bits, this one. I absolutely love it, and that's great. I also tried to build a V8. The lag would not let that happen, so that's disappointing. Some guy on Reddit suggested building a radial engine, but I don't know how I would do that with the explosive canisters as they are, because in this, what we see... Oh, I didn't turn it off. Well, that's convenient. At least it stalled. Right, good time to stall, hey? With this, the canisters sort of fall down a little bit before they explode, so that they sort of maximise their power at the right place. If you had a radial engine, you would either have to have it like that, and then have the canisters, so you can't utilise gravity at all, or you have it like that, in which case one falls, the other don't, and then that one goes the wrong way. So I don't think that's ideal. I think the inline 4 is, you know, a very happy equilibrium here. It's very nice, because you've got the V8 was just laggy. The boxer that Khan made, I think, could be brilliant. I think there's a lot of potential in that. And the engine made by Reed Captain is just an incredible thing. So what I've done is build a car. Which isn't impressive in the slightest, actually, now that I think about it. But what's happened here is our theoretical limit that we had when the engine wasn't under load has sort of been overcome a bit because it's having to carry itself, so it can't free spin as much, so it doesn't miss out any of the bits. But I do like the sound of a really high revving freestanding engine with double canister spawners. I think there's potential in that. And if you do too, you should subscribe. Like and subscribe. Like, comment, subscribe. All of that. But that is really the end of this absolutely garbage engineer and design thing, right? Because we've gone from really, really crummy designs, like that one. This is the first one. The absolutely crummy design of this, and turned it into that. And that is something that I can be quite proud of. I am proud of this. I'm chuffed to bits with this. And they'll all be on the workshop. They will all be on the workshop. It's like a design journey, if you will. They'll be on the workshop under internal. There'll be a link in the description, and they'll be there, and you can go download them and have fun. And please, I want to see these engines do stuff. Please make these engines, and then like, I don't know, show them to me. I want to see this sort of engine a lot more because I think there's a lot of potential in them.